The following program is intended for mature audiences.
Welcome to McGee Uncensored podcast. I'm your host, McGee. Today is a special episode. I will be discussing Wrestlemania 31. Now, my objective is not to give a fantasy booker's perspective of things. I don't like to play fantasy booker unless I'm playing Total Extreme Warfare on my laptop. I'm going to go through the entire WrestleMania 31 card with my unbiased opinion, match by match, give you what I think will be the outcomes, realistically, not what the majority of the internet marks want to see happen, and other possible scenarios. As I pull the card up, and I'm probably not going to go in any particular order. Obviously, I'll save the so-called bigger matches for last. Maybe I'll go least important, I don't know. What we have first, AJ Lee and Paige versus the Bella Twins. I know there's a lot of hashtag movement out there, give Divas a chance. But realistically, can they put on a 15-minute match as close to flawless as possible? I don't know. I don't know if there are those type of caliber workers in the Diva division to pull that off. I think that if this match gets close to 10 minutes, it's a good thing. I'm going to go with AJ Lee and Paige. Only because I don't think there's really much ramification for this match. I mean, the feud's, it really hasn't been built. The pairing of AJ Lee and Paige, has it worked as well? I don't know. They're always flip-flopping heel face. Personally, I'm just not that vested into the match, so I'm not going to go any further discussing it. Moving on, I guess I'll take the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal up next. This is when they just throw a bunch of guys in and try to get the biggest payday for the entire roster as possible. To be placed on the show. I guess you could take almost any name out the hat and they have a possibility of winning. The favorite, I don't know if there's a favorite. Honestly, I don't know. I'm going to go with Damien Sandow. And my sleeper is Eric Rowan. Only because the way Rowan has been portrayed lately, getting beat by the Big Show, Kane, I think that he has momentum of a comeback and, throws them over the top rope himself. It's going to be a match that goes, 12 minutes? And you're just going to see a succession of eliminations. And, the final four probably be Kane, Big Show, Ryback, Eric Rowan, and maybe a fifth would be Sandow. Like I said, once again, it's not that interesting of a match. Last year's winner, Cesaro, how much of a push did he get after he won? His push lasted, it seemed like, 30 seconds after he got the Paul Heyman rub, and that's about it. And no slight on him. He's stayed on the card, and, he's a tag champ, but he didn't get that singles push I think a lot of people were hoping for. And I expect the same thing out of whoever wins this. They may get a rub the next night on Raw, and then after that, they're kind of forgotten and pushed back down the card. What do we have next that I want to cover? Which match will I go with? I guess I'll tackle Seth Rollins, Randy Orton. You could go either way. I think that you have to keep Rollins on the roll, and I think he picks up a victory. I don't know what Orton gains out of a win. He's turned face for the moment. and he'll get a push that way, and he's over. See, the thing with creative, and not to get on too much of a ramp, is that they do live in a bubble, and they do have their favorites, and they think that a loss, that if a guy takes somewhat of a, quote unquote major loss, that it diminishes their value. Well, look at Bray Wyatt, which I'll get into a little bit later with his match with The Undertaker. He's had some big losses, but he's still one of the top heels, top guys in the company that's over. So do losses really mean anything anymore? Depends how bad they get buried. But back to the Rollins-Orton match. I'm going to... Rollins with the win. I think it'll be, you'll get your spots in there. It'll be an okay match. WrestleMania is going to take place from Santa Clara, California, Levi Stadium. It's the 49ers stadium in the NFL. And you might have about 70,000 people. You're going to get a lot of smart marks in that audience. So, be prepared when you watch to try to see these smart marks sway in favor of certain guys. The chance that will end up happening at WrestleMania and then the next night on Raw. And that's probably the best time to tune in, because other than that, the product kind of gets stale right after that. All right, moving on. Rusev, John Cena. John Cena has suffered some WrestleMania losses. He hasn't main evented WrestleMania in 3 years, I believe, and Rusev's built up nice. I mean, he's not as dominant as I thought he would be at this stage right now. And they want to make these secondary titles mean a little bit more. So I'm going to go John Cena over Rusev. Submission match. I mean, not submission match, but that's probably going to have Rusev tap out. But I don't know, because once again, you live in this bubble creatively, and does Rusev, if he taps out, is he going to be look less like viewed as a beast, as a monster in the audience's eyes? So I don't know, but I think, and it's going to make the United States title a little bit more meaningful. And it gives a boost to Cena a little bit. I'm going to say something about Cena. I know there's a lot of haters out there. I don't have one way or the other opinion about John Cena. I think a handful of years ago, I think some of his feuds, it just didn't seem like those people benefited from it. But I see why they keep him face. For monetary reasons. To know his fan base. When I went to Raw at Pittsburgh, you see a lot of kids decked out in his gear. You also see a lot of special needs people, and I mean that nicely, decked out in John Cena's gear. If he were to turn heel at some point, I don't think the fan base is there anymore. And I speak from a financial standpoint of a fan base. I don't hate John Cena. I don't dislike John Cena. I mean, his matches become somewhat repetitive. You expect these moves. I do think he does put the work in. But seeing the impact he has on a certain fan base, I respect that. You can't deny that he goes out and he does all the Make-A-Wishes, and he still has a lot left in the tank. It's not as if he's, all of a sudden just starting to job out to younger talent. He's not doing that. But I don't think he deserves... I know it's like I'm not defending him, but I don't think he deserves the hate as much if you would actually take a look at his primary demographic as far as fans. Kids' parents spend money. So, it's not like somebody of my age going out and spending, dropping a nice dime on John Cena gear. That's not happening. So he's going to be face, and he's going to get hated. He's going to get booed, and I don't care one way or the other, as long as they make the feuds interesting. That's all I've really been a fan of in wrestling: is the feuds, the storylines, the reaction that one person gets when they walk out to the ring and thousands of people either like them or boo them. To get that reaction, you don't get that in any other sport. You don't. You have people who hate teams, or loyal to teams because of the region they live in. But wrestling, it's interesting, dynamic dichotomy. I know a lot of people out there that they laugh at wrestling, they find it a joke, and I know that there may be something out there that they're into that I may shake my head at, but I don't hate. I don't blatantly open mock what they like. That's their choice. I may not understand it, and I think that's sometimes what it is when people have hobbies, is that they can't explain it to somebody unless that person does like it. Then there's a kindred spirit, and they get one another. So I don't know. People are easy to dismiss, and I mean, that's a shame, because not everything you are into is liked by people. So remember that. I went on to a rant, and it was about a Cena match, so that was fun. Moving on the card. Ladder match. Another match where creative says, let's get as many guys into this match as possible so they get a payday. Going with Daniel Bryan, and that it's a takeoff from the U.S. title match to make these secondary titles mean a little bit more. I like Bad News Barrett. He's done a decent job. And think about where that guy could be if he hadn't had ill-timed injuries in his career. I thought by now he'd at least have a feud for the title, the heavyweight title. And I don't know if he's going to get that shot anytime soon. Go with Daniel Bryan. Where Bryan's next feud will be, who knows? Maybe it's going to be Bryan Ziggler. Be entertaining to watch over the summer. Expect your usual spots. Dean Ambrose going through the ropes, pretending he's going to fall out, come back with a hard clothesline. And I think that's getting tired of when you've seen in these matches, these guys hit their spots. I know that the crowd is waiting for it, but you can easily choreograph a match yourself if you watch enough of the same people. You can know, like, when Ambrose is going to do this. You can know when Cena is going to do this. You know when Daniel Bryan is going to do the kicks and then do the flip off the rope. I don't know. It's a boring style. I think that these guys need to be more open to their repertoire, what they're good at, and showcase more. I think telling a guy they can't get to the top rope or telling a guy they can't do certain moves hinders their ability to perform in the ring. And I think years ago there was jealousy on the parts of certain superstars who couldn't work as technically sound as some of these other guys, couldn't be as aerially sound as some of these other guys, and he wanted to change that. That's just my opinion. I think that's what it is. If you let these guys open up more, it's going to be a more exciting product, I guarantee. And who cares about jealousy? The backstage politics stuff is disgusting. I don't think it exists as much anymore as when I read years ago, Hulk Hogan being one of the worst. What's up next? Bray Wyatt, Undertaker. You're going to go with the Undertaker. Bray Wyatt, like I stated before, he suffered losses. He suffered losses to Cena at WrestleMania. He suffered bigger losses. God, I hate when I stumble and I get I don't say a brain fart, but my train of thought goes off the rails for a second. But Bray Wyatt has taken, quote unquote, bigger losses, but his bounce back has been built into a credible heel. The crowd, he has the crowd behind him, so it seems like no matter what, he's going to be liked. But eventually, at some point, he needs to be put into the title hunt. Now, look, not all guys need the title. Roddy Piper was never a heavyweight champion. Roddy Piper got over with a microphone. I mean, he held the IC title for a brief period of time. But you can be that dynamic and be over without having a title. I mean, Piper didn't really suffer big losses either. Piper was protected. You can't protect Bray Wyatt against Dean Ambrose. That's not Dean Ambrose, no diss on him, but you would protect Bray Wyatt against Cena. You would have him beat Cena at some point, or a Daniel Bryan at some point. They might have. I'm just speaking on TV. There's just regular losses. I don't know what kind of match to expect. I don't know what the Undertaker has left in him. He's going to be 50 years old. He has bad knees. He's had surgeries over the years. I don't know how much he has to bring to this match. It's going to be slow, methodical, but I don't think it's going to be as bad as the World Heavyweight title match that I'll be talking about soon. This is probably going to be it for the Undertaker. I don't know what else he has left to prove. You broke his streak, which was, I think, a major selling point for WrestleMania. People tuned in to see if he was going to continue it in the world of fake wrestling, an undefeated streak. But there was a selling point. And even though he didn't really face credible opponents early on in his WrestleMania career, I think the streak came as just out of luck. They just noticed that he's undefeated, and I think people took notice when he faced the Boss Man I think. But some of those matches with the Undertaker were garbage. The WrestleMania that took place up in Seattle was that 2-on-1. Because if you people remember, and I doubt many of you do, the powerful flop that was Nathan Jones. I'm just shaking my head. I don't expect a fantastic match. I'm taking the Undertaker, just the history on the side. Bray Wyatt's still going to look strong. To be respecting, whatever, I don't know. Up next, Sting Triple H. A match that has been built around two part-time guys in the ring. And that's just what they are. Sting's 55. I'm not saying he has nothing left in the tank. And Triple H is, in his mid-40s. I think it's going to be a good match, but it's not going to be a spectacular match if you know how Triple H works. He's a good hand in the ring, but it's not as if he's, going to take a bunch of risks. It's going to be a brawl. Brawl? I say right? Brawl. It's going to be a brawl. Sting comes out as I'm saying it as it's fact. Sting comes out as the winner. You're going to make his only possible WrestleMania appearance a loss? I don't think so. But there's nothing on the line. What's there? Unless he's going to make more regular appearances, what's this match, the outcome, bring as far as storyline wise? This would have worked if he actually appeared at Survivor Series and put the Authority away. But then for them to only come back 3 weeks later, that made a lot of sense. Expect a lot of cool entrances for WrestleMania, for Rusev, and I think Sting's going to get a cool one. You have to wait till the sun goes down for Wyatt Undertaker, so that's why that match will be on, I think, a little bit later in the card. But it's a spectacle. WrestleMania is a spectacle. It's the one time where you probably get people to tune in that don't normally tune in. And are you going to hook them? You never know. It's entertaining. It is. That's Sting Triple H. I might go about 20 minutes. I don't know what the condition cardio-wise some of these guys have, either of these guys have anymore, but easily probably about 20 minutes. But it's going to be paced. Like I said, Sting's 55. But he's over. And I laugh at when they call him a vigilante. I don't understand why he's a vigilante. And that he's been gone for 14 years. Well, if you were in TNA, you'd be forgotten about too. I don't know that when I do my episodes on wrestling, if I can talk about TNA. It's just it's a mess. And I'll be lowering myself in my stand. I might talk about ROH, Ring of Honor, more than I would probably talk about TNA, unless something crazy happens and they actually put on a decent product. Let's be honest, it's Bush League. And then finally, folks, we have our main event, World Heavyweight title match. Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns. And I think this has been poorly booked since the start. Look, you can't be a fool and think that Roman Reigns wasn't going to win the Royal Rumble this year. You have to be foolish. Now, the way that the Rumble was laid out, that was even more foolish. You should have had Daniel Bryan close to at least the final 5, final 4, 3, and then have him thrown out. I don't think there would have been as much backlash. And, you know, WWE, when they want to bury a guy or they want to make sure that send a message to the fans and not have this guy anymore, they've done that pretty well for Daniel Bryan lately. I think he is a top guy. I mean, I know they're not going to make him the guy, but they booked Raw, the arenas that they had. I mean, they weren't as smart marked out as last year's. They were in Chicago during the WrestleMania run, and that's the whole CM Punk, I don't call it debacle, but, you know, the aftermath and him leaving and people getting tired of stuff. Some of these arenas just weren't as full of smart marks. They really weren't to chant and make a difference. Has Roman Reigns gotten the reaction that upper management has hoped for? Absolutely not. The crowd is divided. I was there Raw live in Pittsburgh, and it's just not a champion's or a supposed possible champion's welcome. You're going to get the girls who like him, and, you know, let's be honest, you can see why girls like Roman Reigns, and they're going to scream just like how girls like Randy Orton. Okay, I'm not going to get that reaction if I walk into an arena. I'm not going to get the women. You know, I'll probably get the smart marks because I'm not going to be afraid to say what I want on the mic. But, you know, that's me being in a dream world. But this match has been poorly built. Roman Reigns is sometimes made to be look strong, but he's not been a focal point of Raw. Lesnar, I don't like to talk too much about what I read as far as rumors, but you know, his contract is coming up. Will they have an agreement? I don't know. We will see. Make him more of a special attraction. I agree on that. Reigns, I don't think is ready for the title. Where does he move on after this? And I think that's the problem last year when they had Daniel Bryan win the title. Where does he move on from that? And they put him into a feud with Kane. I mean, yeah, he ends up getting hurt, and, you know, and that sucks. But did anybody really want to see the Daniel Bryan Kane feud? I mean, does anybody want to see Big Show and Kane on TV anymore? I mean, really, those guys offer nothing. They offer absolutely nothing anymore. I'm tearing the roster apart, but whatever. Reigns, going back to Reigns, if you've attended an event, if you have seen, like I said, if you have seen the reactions, the majority of people don't care. He doesn't get. Everybody's going to do the yes, okay, when Bryan comes out. A lot of people, they're going to do that. But they do it because they do like him. You know, Reigns is subpar on the mic. He has improved a little bit. It depends who's, you know, writing his promos. But he's not as fiery on the mic as I think a champion should be. I don't think he carries himself as a potential world heavyweight champion. You know, you watch the product because you suspend belief on things, you know, when you watch wrestling. But you watch the product because you're like, because you didn't get invested in somebody and you start to root for them. Like I said, I like the product overall. There might be a few guys I like, but overall I just watch the product because I said what it, like I said, it's hard to explain to people that may not be into it, but the wrestling fans, I think they understand what I'm trying to say here. And with Roman Reigns, I don't think you get that right now. What feuds has he been in? And I think that's what really does matter to a point, is what feuds do guys get in? You know, you have Rollins and Ambrose who feuded for a little bit, and that was probably one of the better mid-card feuds in almost 15 years. I'm serious. And Rollins is over. Rollins is great on the mic. I don't know when he'll ever cash in that Money in the Bank. You've got to put him into a decent feud. I don't think that if he would cash in on WrestleMania, and I don't think he will, if Reigns would win the title, that's not a feud that people want to watch. People want to watch Miz and Damien, I'll call him Sandow still, Damien Sandow. And that would be a great match on the card. Sandow would get over huge, but no, they stick him into the Battle Royal. Doesn't make any sense to me. Enough about Reigns and his lack of, I don't know, credibility. Brock Lesnar is a scary individual. I don't mean that, to play up a character. I mean that as a person. I think this man, if he wanted to, could just destroy everybody on the roster without breaking a sweat. I would love to see him give Vince McMahon an F5 just to see what would happen. But you can't give a F5 to a soon-to-be 70-year-old man. That's elderly abuse. It's wise to keep the belt on Lesnar. It is. There's nobody more over with that belt, or could get over more with that belt, than Lesnar. I think he's the top guy in the company. There's no doubt about it. I don't think there's any debate about it. This match is going to be horrible. You have two guys who, yes, athletically they are gifted. Lesnar does have a amateur wrestling background. He wrestled in college at Minnesota, and he fought in the UFC. This guy's a legitimate badass. Roman Reigns has whatever they want. They didn't want to link him to the Samoans, and he did play college football. These guys are athletically, they're gifted, but in the ring, I think Lesnar has more to offer than Reigns. I'm telling you right now, that Superman punch spear, what is this, a Killer Instinct combo? You're not going to knock out Brock Lesnar and win with a Superman punch and a spear. That's not going to happen. You got to come up with a better finish than that. Lesnar can make you submit legitimately, and he's not going to go into business for himself. He's not that much of a lunatic unless he feels that he's really getting screwed. And that would be something to see at the end of WrestleMania, if that would happen, if he would go into business for himself. But he knows that I think there's just too much money on the table, and whatever the disagreements are with him and the company, hopefully they resolve it. They sort things out. If you're expecting a 5-star match in the main event, your expectations are set too high. 3-star, I don't know, maybe 2 3/4 of a star. This is going to be another slow, bulky, paced match. Rest holds. When you start seeing the rest holds, that's either trying to talk out the match, or they know that their match is going to go long and they're trying to not get blown up in the ring. Cardio-wise, they'll run out of breath. I'm just running through scenarios through my head. Lesnar makes the most sense in keeping the belt. He presents more matchup possibilities. You could go in many different directions with Lesnar, I think. And if he's only going to work a certain amount of dates, he becomes, like I said, a special attraction, so you can make the matchups bigger. You could bring back a Rock and against Lesnar at a SummerSlam. You could easily make that work. Excuse me. I know that they, like in a show, I talked about making the secondary titles more meaningful. They're not so much de-emphasizing the impact that a world heavyweight title has or who has it, but they're trying to make it more, like I said, of a special attraction. If you're only going to be at maybe 1 or 2 Raws a month as a champion, then people are going to come and they're going to see you if you are a draw. Brock Lesnar is a draw. Roman Reigns doesn't have the box office power of Roman Reigns does not have the box office power or draw as Brock Lesnar does. It's that simple. And Lesnar's still relatively young. He is. He's in his mid-30s. He keeps himself in good shape. And he could be your world champion for another year. I think that they've somewhat backed themselves up into a corner, though, and saying, well, if Reigns doesn't take the title off Lesnar, or they're not comfortable with taking the title off Lesnar, putting it on Reigns, who gets it? Who looks like a legit matchup or foe opponent for Lesnar? Does anybody stand out on the roster? Not really. What are you going to do? Another big guy in there just because Lesnar's a big guy? Oh, excuse me. Who have they built? And that's a problem that they have. Who is next in line? Somehow Seth Rollins may come in, but I can't see him cashing his Money in the Bank on Brock Lesnar. Unless he's being helped. He's not going to come down and take care of it himself. I don't know if Seth Rollins is successfully going to cash in that when he has the opportunity to do it, if they make it happen. I don't know. Bottom line is, this WrestleMania doesn't feel like a WrestleMania. The build-up just, for me, hasn't been there. They've downplayed the 2 guys in the main event. I don't think the build has been there. You build a match around 2 part-timers that have done a solid job of that, but look who's involved. Of course they are. The Undertaker won't make an appearance until the day of WrestleMania. Rusev Cena is going to get a lot of grandeur. You're going to see a big entrance, big opening. And then you have the ladder match that you're going to get the guys to hit the spot. Somebody's going to take a big spot off the ladder, a big bump off the ladder. Battle Royal is just going to be one big cluster. No one's going to carry the tag team match of the Divas. You may get I think you're going to get some Paige chance. I really do. I think you're going to get a lot of Paige chance just get for a change. And the Rollins-Orton match is going to be typical of what you expect in a Rollins-Orton match. This just doesn't feel, like I said, like a WrestleMania. And 70,000 some people that paid a lot of money to expect a great event going to be left a little bit disappointed. It's going to be the crowd that keeps this show going. I think that's what's going to happen. I think that, and if you watch Raw, there's a difference between going to a live event and then watching it on TV. If you go to a live event, I don't say it's kind of surreal, but I think you have an obligation as the crowd to keep the TV audience watching. When I'm at home and I'm watching it on TV, if the audience is not into it live, I am not into it watching at home. WrestleMania is somewhat of a different story, but there's going to be times in these matches that are going to drag out, be a little bit boring, or a lot boring, and the crowd has the obligation to keep the people up at home watching. I don't want to hear no JBL chants or Michael Cole. Those guys don't deserve to be chanted. They don't. They're garbage on commentary. They are. I don't care. I'm sorry. They are. I know that somebody's talking into their headsets the entire show, and that can get nerve-wracking and annoying. And maybe that's why part of the reason that they're not that good, because you have somebody who's stuck in the 80s set mindset in their headset, telling them what to say and do. Hall of Fame is going to be nice. The ceremony is going to be nice. Savage is finally going in. Randy Savage is finally going in. Long overdue. And I think that's a shame that he's not here in person to get his award. But if he was still alive, I don't think there'd be talk about it. Whatever bitterness they have towards him. Well, listen, I'm going to stop right there. And I hope you enjoyed me talking about WrestleMania. I think I got everything out that I wanted to get out. And I hope that you tune in and watch. And I'm going to watch and I'm going to see what happens and unfolds and expect what I expect. Signing off, this is McGee from McGee Uncensored Podcast. Tune in next time. Good day.